In a world where public figures are constantly scrutinized and judged, it's rare to see someone in the spotlight make a deeply personal decision that challenges societal expectations. But that's exactly what Angelina Jolie did. Known for her humanitarian efforts, Oscar-winning performances, and bold life choices, she has once again stunned the world. Not with a movie role, but with a spiritual declaration. Angelina Jolie has embraced Islam, and her decision has sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. For years, Jolie has been more than just a celebrity. She's been a voice for the voiceless, working with refugees, advocating for children's rights, and traveling to war-torn regions to offer help where others only offered words. She has always searched for something deeper, something more meaningful than fame, wealth, and red carpets. And for many, her conversion to Islam is not as surprising as it seems. It is in fact the next chapter in a life driven by empathy, introspection, and a search for universal truth. This moment has stirred both admiration and controversy. In a city where religion is often a taboo topic, Jolie's embrace of Islam has opened the floodgates of opinion. Social media exploded. News outlets raced to cover her statement. Celebrities reacted, some with support, others with skepticism. But one thing is clear. This decision was not made for attention or headlines. It was a decision born from soul-searching, from experiences in the real world that many Hollywood stars never touch, and from a desire to live with more purpose and peace. What makes this story even more powerful is the quiet courage it took to go against the grain of your own industry, to risk judgment and backlash, to find peace in a faith that is often misunderstood and misrepresented in the West. Jolie's step into Islam is not just about personal belief. It's about showing the world that truth can still break through the noise, that sincerity can overpower skepticism, and that faith can find you even when you least expect it. Many are now rethinking their perceptions of Islam. Many are wondering what she saw in this faith that touched her heart so deeply. As Jolie begins this new chapter, she not only challenges the narrative around Islam in Hollywood, but also inspires others to seek their own truth, no matter the cost. This is more than a story about a celebrity converting to a religion. This is a story about transformation, about courage, about choosing the path less traveled. And it all begins with one powerful truth. Angelina Jolie found something in Islam that the world could not give her: inner peace. Angelina Jolie's journey toward Islam didn't begin in a moment of fame or glory, but in quiet observations and heartfelt experiences throughout her humanitarian work. She had traveled extensively to Muslim-majority countries, visited refugee camps, and witnessed the resilience and strength of families who had lost everything, yet still clung to their faith. These experiences planted seeds of curiosity in her heart. What gave these people such unwavering hope in the face of unimaginable hardship? What was this inner peace they seemed to have despite living in dire conditions? Jolie began asking questions not for media purposes, but for her own understanding. Her empathy led her not just to help, but to listen and learn. As she spent more time in these communities, she was struck by the simplicity, discipline, and spiritual depth of the Muslim way of life. What especially moved her was the sense of purpose and connection that Muslims seemed to carry. Whether it was the 5 daily prayers, the emphasis on charity, or the deep respect for family and community, Jolie noticed a level of grounding she hadn't found in the glamorous, often chaotic world of Hollywood. She observed how Islam brought structure and serenity to people's lives, even in the most difficult environments. Slowly, she began reading more about the religion, not through the lens of politics or media bias, but directly from Muslim scholars, individuals, and authentic sources. The deeper she went, the more she felt drawn to the teachings. This wasn't a sudden shift, but a gradual awakening. She didn't rush to make a public declaration or seek approval. She spent months reflecting, reading, and quietly practicing aspects of the faith. Islam's focus on intention, compassion, and balance resonated with her evolving worldview. It helped her see her own life in a different light, offering peace where there had once been restlessness, and grounding where there had been confusion. This wasn't about rejecting her past. It was about stepping into a truth that aligned with who she had become. Her acceptance of Islam was not a performance, but the natural result of years of silent searching and soulful encounters. When news of Angelina Jolie's quiet embrace of Islam began to surface, the world was left stunned. But what surprised many even more was the immediate and widespread reaction from Hollywood, a place known for its liberal values and celebration of personal freedom suddenly seemed unsettled by one woman's spiritual choice. Colleagues, journalists, and even fans began questioning her intentions. Some speculated it was a phase. Others accused her of aligning herself with controversy. Yet amidst the chaos, Jolie stood firm, not reacting with anger or defensiveness, but with the same grace and calm that led her to Islam in the first place. Instead of giving fiery interviews or long press conferences, she chose subtlety. When she did speak, her words reflected humility, not rebellion. She didn't attack her critics or distance herself from her roots in entertainment. Instead, she simply shared that her decision was personal, deeply spiritual, and not influenced by trends or political narratives. This honesty struck a chord with many who had long admired her for her humanitarian work, and suddenly the conversation began to shift. Hollywood's reaction was not entirely negative. There were those who supported her journey, recognizing that faith is a human right and a deeply intimate part of someone's identity. Some actors and directors even came forward, admitting they had similar questions or spiritual yearnings but had been too afraid to explore them publicly. Jolie's quiet courage gave voice to those who felt silenced. Her story wasn't just about embracing Islam. It became a symbol of the freedom to seek truth beyond fame, fortune, and public expectation. As media outlets scrambled for sound bites, Jolie continued living out her new path with sincerity. She didn't conform to the pressure to make Islam more palatable for Western audiences. Instead, she let her actions speak. Her compassion, discipline, and sense of purpose only grew stronger, showing that her transformation was real. Hollywood may have been shocked at first, but gradually even the skeptics had to acknowledge one truth. Angelina Jolie's journey was authentic, and her newfound peace couldn't be faked. As the news of Angelina Jolie's conversion to Islam continued to spread, what stood out most was not the media frenzy, but the silence she maintained in the middle of it. She didn't run to talk shows or publish essays to justify her decision. Instead, she let her transformation speak through her demeanor, her actions, and her undeniable sense of peace. This approach left many people intrigued. How could someone so deeply embedded in Hollywood's culture walk away from its expectations so gracefully? Those friends began to notice the shift in her lifestyle. Her routines changed. Her fashion choices became more modest, but never forced or performative. Her tone in interviews was more grounded, more reflective. Some reported that she had started spending time studying, praying, and focusing on spiritual wellness. She wasn't trying to please anyone or make headlines. She was simply living her truth. For those watching from the sidelines, this raised a powerful question. What had she discovered in Islam that gave her this calm confidence? The more people dug into her story, the clearer it became. This wasn't a reaction to a crisis, nor was it a sudden whim. Jolie had been on a spiritual journey for years, traveling to war-torn countries, connecting with people of different faiths, and asking deeper questions about life and purpose. Islam offered her the clarity, discipline, and connection to the divine that she had long been seeking. It wasn't about abandoning her past, but about stepping into a deeper understanding of her own soul. This quiet strength began to inspire others. Fans who once admired her for her films now found themselves drawn to her for her faith. Conversations started shifting online, from skepticism to curiosity, from mockery to respect. People who had never read a page of the Quran or stepped into a mosque started asking questions, wondering if the peace she radiated could be found by them too. Without preaching or demanding attention, Angelina Jolie had opened the door for a new kind of dialogue, one rooted in faith, respect, and the search for truth. As the buzz around Angelina Jolie's conversion to Islam intensified, Hollywood found itself in unfamiliar territory. A-list celebrities, producers, and influencers were left stunned, not just by her choice of faith, but by the conviction with which she embraced it. In an industry known for excess, image, and superficiality, Angelina's move was nothing short of revolutionary. It was a quiet defiance against the unspoken rules of fame. She didn't seek approval, she didn't wait for acceptance, she simply followed what felt right to her soul. Behind the scenes, conversations started happening. Some celebrities reportedly reached out to her, not to criticize, but to understand. They were curious about what led her down this path, what Islam had given her that the glamorous world of Hollywood could not. And for many, her sincerity struck a chord. This wasn't a publicity stunt or a temporary phase. This was a woman who had spent decades in the limelight, finally choosing peace over pressure, depth over distraction. Her decision began to expose the spiritual emptiness that many in Hollywood feel but rarely talk about. Fame, wealth, influence, these things can fill a schedule, but not a heart. Angelina's journey made others pause and reflect. Could it be that the very faith, so often misunderstood and misrepresented in the media, actually held the answers to questions they'd been too afraid to ask? Public reactions were mixed, but even critics couldn't ignore the impact. Jolie's presence in humanitarian circles, her work with refugees, and her connection with people across cultures now made even more sense through the lens of Islam. The values she had long championed, compassion, justice, humility, aligned seamlessly with the teachings of the religion she now embraced. This shift wasn't just personal. It had the potential to change how Islam is perceived in Western media. If someone like Angelina Jolie, known for her independence and intelligence, found peace in Islam, perhaps it was time to re-examine the stereotypes. Her story became more than a headline. It became a catalyst for new conversations, bridging a gap between worlds that too often misunderstand one another. And in doing so, she reminded the world that true strength lies in the courage to be spiritually honest, even when it goes against everything people expect. Angelina Jolie's journey to Islam didn't just shock Hollywood, it inspired millions around the world who had never considered the beauty and depth of the faith. One of the most powerful aspects of her story is how it opened the eyes of countless people who had previously only known Islam through negative media portrayals or cultural misconceptions. When someone of her stature chooses to embrace something often misunderstood, it challenges long-held assumptions and encourages honest curiosity. Across social media platforms, her acceptance of Islam sparked a wave of emotional reactions. People who had hidden their faith in fear of judgment found new confidence. Converts who felt isolated in their community suddenly had someone to relate to. Her courage to go against the grain resonated deeply with those struggling to hold on to their beliefs in a world that often pushes faith aside. It reminded them that they are not alone and that choosing spirituality, even in the face of criticism, is a strength, not a weakness. Angelina's conversion also inspired a surge of interest in learning about Islam from the source. Sales of English translations of the Quran spiked, and search engines saw an increase in queries like, "What made Angelina Jolie convert to Islam?" Or, "Why do people find peace in Islam?" It wasn't just celebrity gossip. It became a spiritual awakening for many who had been searching for something deeper in life. Even those who do not follow Islam were moved by her sense of peace, her humility, and her willingness to grow. Her story reminded people that faith is not a step backward, but a powerful leap forward. It's a decision of the heart that has nothing to do with fame or image, and everything to do with truth. By publicly embracing Islam, Angelina Jolie gave people permission to ask questions they had long buried. She broke the barrier of silence that often surrounds religion in elite circles. And most importantly, she reminded a divided world that faith can be a force of unity, healing, and self-discovery, if we're open enough to listen. Angelina Jolie's conversion to Islam did more than cause a stir in Hollywood. It sparked a broader global conversation about the power of personal transformation and spiritual truth. Her decision to embrace Islam sent a powerful message to those who had always believed that religion and fame couldn't coexist. Instead of following the predictable script of celebrity life, she chose a path of humility, reflection, and submission to a higher purpose, and that choice has left a lasting impact on both fans and critics. What makes her story so profound is the quiet strength she showed in the face of intense media scrutiny. Instead of trying to defend herself or conform to public expectations, Angelina allowed her actions and inner peace to speak for themselves. Her calm, graceful presence during interviews and public appearances showed a side of her that many had never seen before, one that was centered, spiritually grounded, and deeply fulfilled. It became clear that this transformation wasn't for attention. It was from the heart. This powerful moment also served as a reminder that Islam is not just a religion for certain cultures or regions. It's a universal faith with a message for all of humanity. Her journey shattered the stereotype that Islam is incompatible with Western values or modern life. On the contrary, her life now reflects how Islam brings structure, discipline, and inner peace, even to those surrounded by noise, fame, and pressure. For many people watching around the world, Angelina's story gave them the courage to reflect on their own spiritual journeys. Whether Muslim or not, people began questioning what truly matters: status or serenity, appearance or authenticity, applause or truth. Her experience reminded us that the soul always yearns for deeper meaning, and that sometimes the most powerful statements are not made through words, but through actions that reflect a changed heart. In a world where fame often overshadows faith, Angelina Jolie's journey to Islam stands as a beacon of courage, truth, and transformation. Her decision to embrace a faith often misunderstood, has not only shaken the foundations of Hollywood, but has also opened the hearts and minds of millions around the globe. She didn't just change religions, she changed the narrative. Her story is more than a celebrity headline. It's a reminder that even in a life surrounded by cameras, fame, and expectations, the soul still seeks peace. It reminds us that no matter how high one may rise in this world, the heart will always long for something greater, something eternal. Angelina's peaceful acceptance of Islam shows that truth doesn't always need to shout. Sometimes it just needs to be lived with sincerity. To those who have watched this journey unfold, thank you for being open-minded, curious, and respectful. Whether you're here out of interest, inspiration, or introspection, know that this story isn't about changing who you are. It's about encouraging you to search deeper. Faith is a personal path, and stories like Angelina's show that the journey is just as powerful as the destination. If her story has touched something in your heart, let it guide you to explore more. Ask questions, reflect, seek understanding. The truth is never afraid of being explored. It welcomes it. And who knows, perhaps her journey was never just about her. Maybe it was meant to awaken something in you too. Thank you for watching and supporting content that highlights truth, transformation, and spiritual growth. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories that challenge stereotypes and reveal the beauty hidden behind misunderstood paths. May peace and understanding guide us all on our own journeys.